Have you ever really stopped to think about it? The journey you're on? From the very first moment you existed to, well, right now, you've been constantly changing. It's this incredible story of becoming. So let's dive into that story together.
I mean, it's really the ultimate question, isn't it? How did you become you, the person listening to this right now? It's not just one simple answer. It's a lifetime of development, a process that kicked off way before you have any memories of it. And guess what? It's not stopping. It'll keep going for the rest of your life.
So the big idea we're going to unpack here is something called the lifespan perspective. It kind of flips that old-fashioned idea on its head, the one where you grow up and then you're just done. The reality is so much cooler. The truth is, we are all a work in progress, all of us, from the moment of conception all the way to the very end. Our development, it never actually stops.
Okay, so if life is this big, epic journey, then it has to have a map, right? What does that roadmap look like? Let's take a look and chart out the major stages that pretty much everyone travels through, even though we all take our own unique path.
And here it is. This is basically our roadmap. Look at that. It starts in this totally hidden world of prenatal development before we're even born. Then it moves into that super fast growth of infancy, the nonstop learning of childhood, the, let's say, interesting identity seeking of our teenage years, and finally into all the complex phases of being an adult. And the key thing here is that each stage builds on the one before it, throwing new challenges and new opportunities our way.
But this journey isn't just a straight line. It's not one-dimensional at all. At every single stage, we're changing in these 4 different ways, all at the same time. You've got the physical, the cognitive, the emotional, and the social. I like to think of them like threads being woven together to create this amazing complex tapestry, which is you. For example, a physical change in a teenager's brain totally affects their emotional control, right? And that in turn impacts their social relationships. See? It is all connected.
All right, let's rewind all the way back to the very beginning. We're talking about the most explosive, mind-blowing period of growth we will ever experience. This is a time of firsts, and it literally lays the foundation for everything, and I mean everything that comes after.
So get this. Before you even take your first breath of air, this absolutely astonishing sequence of events is unfolding. You start as a single cell, and from there you journey through these 3 distinct stages. And that middle one, the embryonic stage, that is where the most dramatic construction project in the universe happens. The fundamental architecture of a human being is laid down right there. It's incredible.
And this is so important. We're talking about a supercritical period here because all those major organs are forming at lightning speed. The embryo is just incredibly sensitive to harmful things. They're called teratogens. It really shows you that timing is everything. It's a period of miraculous creation, for sure, but also profound vulnerability.
Okay, so once we make our grand entrance into the world, another universal journey kicks off, learning to talk. And this is just a perfect example of how development follows a predictable pattern. It's amazing. Every little gurgle and coo isn't just noise, it's a crucial step. It builds up to babbling, where babies start mimicking the sounds and rhythms of their language. And all of that leads to that one magical moment, the first word.
And at the exact same time we're figuring out how to talk, we're also learning how to love. This is called attachment, and it is our very first, most fundamental social achievement. It's this deep, biological drive to be close to our caregiver. And the quality of that first bond, it creates what you could call a blueprint, an internal working model that honestly shapes how we do relationships for the rest of our lives. It's huge.
So that early connection to other people really sets the stage for the next big task in life, figuring out who we are as individuals. And that's the great project of our teenage and young adult years.
Yeah, there's this famous psychologist, Erik Erikson, who really nailed it. He said the central conflict of being a teenager is this battle between identity and role confusion. Basically, the main job of a teen is to try on different hats, different roles, beliefs, possible futures, all to figure out who they really are. If you pull it off, you end up with a pretty stable sense of self. If not, you can end up feeling kind of lost and adrift.
And hey, if you've ever wondered why are teenagers so teenagey, so emotional, so willing to take crazy risks, well, there's a fascinating reason for it, and it's all in the brain. Think of it like a car. Their emotional gas pedal, the limbic system, is floored. It's fully developed. But the rational brake pedal, the prefrontal cortex, that's still being built. This huge mismatch between the gas and the brakes, yeah, it explains a lot.
So, Once you've wrestled with that big "who am I" question, the next challenge on the list is intimacy versus isolation. This is all about learning how to share your newly formed self with someone else. If you have a solid sense of who you are, it makes it possible to form those deep, committed relationships. That's intimacy. But without that solid self, it's easy to feel cut off, alone, and that's isolation.
Okay, let's fast forward a bit. Now we're landing in what many people call the prime of life, middle adulthood. This is often a time of peak everything. Peak career, peak family responsibilities, but it's also, really importantly, a time for reflection and taking stock.
You know, we all know the cliche, right? The midlife crisis. The person who suddenly buys a red sports car and completely changes their life. But here's the thing. The actual research tells a very, very different story. It turns out, for most people, it's not really a crisis at all. It's more of a reappraisal. It's way less about sudden panic and radical change, and much more about a thoughtful, gradual review of your life. It's a time when you start to ask those deep questions. Am I on the right track here? What really, truly matters to me at this point in my life?
A much better way to think about this stage comes from our friend Erickson again. He called it generativity versus stagnation. What that really means is that the primary drive for people in midlife becomes this deep need to contribute something that's going to outlast them. It could be raising kids, mentoring younger people at work, or creating something meaningful. That's generativity. The flip side is stagnation, that feeling of being stuck, unproductive, and maybe a little too self-absorbed. And wow, a lot of people in midlife today find themselves in this unique pressure cooker. You might have heard the term the sandwich generation. It perfectly captures that feeling of being squeezed. You're caring for your own aging parents while also supporting your own kids, who might be teenagers or young adults themselves. Talk about a squeeze. It can be a huge source of both financial and emotional strain.
Now, in terms of our brains, something really fascinating happens in midlife. Our fluid intelligence. Think of it as your brain's raw processing speed, how fast you can solve a new puzzle. That might start to slow down a little. But our crystallized intelligence, which is like your brain's giant library of facts, knowledge, and experience, that just keeps on growing. So yeah, we might get a little slower, but we also get a whole lot wiser.
And all that wisdom, it serves us really well as we head into the final chapter of life. A stage that, gets a bad rap for being all about decline. But it's so much more than that. It's a time of deep reflection, of acceptance, and honestly, of surprising emotional strength.
Erickson's final stage really captures this. He called it integrity versus despair. This is it, the ultimate life review. The goal is to be able to look back on the whole story of your life and feel a sense of satisfaction, of peace, of wholeness. That's integrity. The alternative, and it's a tough one, is to look back and be filled with regrets, bitterness, and that terrible feeling that time has run out. That's despair. And this brings us to something that I just find so beautiful and hopeful. It's called the paradox of aging, and it's this. Despite all the undeniable physical challenges, the losses that come with getting older, older adults very often report being happier and more satisfied with their lives than younger adults. Isn't that amazing? It seems they become absolute experts at managing their emotions and just focusing on what truly, deeply matters. So from that very first spark of life all the way to the wisdom of age, our development is this continuous, incredible, lifelong story. We've walked through the big stages on the map, but your journey, that's uniquely your own. So I guess the only question left is, wherever you happen to be on this map right now, what's your next chapter going to be?